Man, I'm super introverted, like super introverted.
Okay.
After this, I will be like done for the day. I felt like I was contributing to one of the problems in the world. Right now, I'm really into my yard, my lawn. Like I'm all about my lawn. The hard thing to do is try to be able to understand them and then be persuasive. There are times when you just like, or at least for me, I'll start questioning like, am I wasting my time here? Like, am I really making a difference?
Hello, Jon. Thank you so much for coming on.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, bro. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. It's good to reconnect. And I just want to dive right in. You recently had a conversation with Mikhaila Peterson. What were the most, important or most valuable takeaways you took away from that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I enjoyed the conversation. It was good. I kind of wish I could have spent more time like asking questions. You know what I mean? Kind of having more like an organic conversation would have been better. You know what I mean? But I mean, I understand they have it structured away for a reason. And the topic wasn't on the stuff that I really wanted to dive into. The topic was more on Gen Zs and millennials and, if they're ready to believe in God again. And I wanted to ask a lot more like questions about like her journey, the theology and stuff like that. But anyways, I thought it was overall a good conversation. I guess that's it. I thought it was pretty good, I guess, what I'd say. Yeah.
So do you have that when you either speak publicly or you talk to people on YouTube, you get away and you feel like, oh man, I should have said that, I should have added that, or I should have done that sort of thing?
Yeah, a little of that. And that happens every conversation. But I wish I got the gospel in earlier to kind of set the frame for a lot of the conversation. And I didn't talk about it until the end. And I didn't feel like I articulated it as clearly as I wanted to, you know what I mean? But I mean, that stuff happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Have you followed your work like in the past, or was it basically Justin Briley reaching out to you and asking whether you would come on with her on the show?
I've watched a few of her videos, probably maybe a couple of her, like her shorts and stuff like that, so I was familiar with her. But Briley reached out and that's when I watched more of her stuff after I got that email from him. So yeah. By the way, I saw your convo with Cosmic. I watched it last week and I thought you did a really good job, man. Yeah, it was an interesting conversation, man, in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I want to give you props for that too, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, actually, like a couple of people said that we didn't tackle the problem of divine hiddenness as a philosophical issue, but we went more. And well, that was actually part of what I wanted to do. A lot of people said, well, we went more personal in the conversation, Alex and I. And I thought that was my aim. And Alex and I talked about this before. He said, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about how this concerns me personally. And I enjoyed that a lot. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think he did good. And it was just interesting to hear his development and growth too, as an atheist too. Like, particularly what I found interesting was him talking about these kind of thought tribes, when you're only listening to consuming one type of content, because I've been thinking about this for a while too. And that stuff does like really can get you contaminated, man. Like you're only watching like, the Ben Shapiro types and stuff like that. It can be bad for you. Cause I mean, you really do start just like developing that kind of animosity for the other side and gets tribal. And so it's interesting to hear him explain that from like the atheist perspective. Cause I think both the liberals and Democrats just both do that too a lot. It can get toxic when we're in echo chambers. So
yeah, that's right. So are there like channels or content creators from the other side, so to speak, which you follow intentionally, kind of keep, the dialogue going in your head at least?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I follow basically on like whatever issue I'm thinking about or whatever, I try to follow and really hear, because I want to understand the other side well. I don't want to just kind of like straw man them. So for the most part, yeah, I mean, most of the things I talk about, I'm listening to people from the other side consistently as well.
Yeah. So what would be some of the channels that you follow? Like, can you throw out some names? Again, people that you don't agree with, but that you challenge yourself with.
Yeah, kind of depends on the topic. So like if it's like Islam, I'll listen to like Ali Dawah and Hijab and some of these people. And if it's like I guess like other stuff, like kind of cultural kind of stuff, I'll specifically go listen to like Trevor Noah or something like that. If it's just like political, then I'll listen to like like Ben Shapiro's, Matt Walsh, or Joe Rogan. Like I want to hear as many different perspectives as possible, is how I process at least. And then I kind of listen to them all and then think about them all and think what makes the most sense to me. You know what I mean? So that's how I tend to kind of navigate stuff.
Yeah. Would you be happy to have a conversation with Ali Dawah?
Not really. Yeah, not really. Like, yeah. Not to like, I just watched yesterday him and Hijab had a conversation where they responded to, I think it's Young Don is a YouTuber, Christian YouTuber. And the argumentation was so bad. It showed me how much they don't listen to Christians, you know what I mean? But to be fair, like Christians, we do this all the time as well too, not listening to other sides, we're straw manning them.
Yeah.
But I thought like it was interesting because they kept talking about how intellectually inferior Christians were, or at least Young Don was in this. And I just thought about like how like intellectually lazy their response was. Yeah. So anyways, I'm just not impressed. And it doesn't seem like it's in good, what's the word?
Faith.
Yeah, good faith. Yeah. So I'm not really interested in that, but yeah.
Man, actually, so I was in London this summer, and or in the UK anyway, and that's where the conversation with Alex happened. That's why the in-person thing came about. And we went to Speaker's Corner as a family. Cool. We took our kids. I mean, they're 11, 9, and 5 years old. And It was on a Sunday, so Ali Dawah was there. I saw him from afar. He was handing out, I don't know whether it was Qurans or tracts and stuff. Oh, cool. And but I thought about approaching him, but I didn't do it. I thought, well, he's busy with his stuff, and I didn't know what to talk about then.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's really cool. Yeah.
So, do you kind of talk about culture and apologetics in your church, or is your church like big, or at least active in that sphere? Is there stuff happening which you encourage or are part of, like on the ground?
Not as much apologetic stuff. My pastor, he asked me if I wanted to start an apologetics like group, a couple times, but to be honest, like YouTube consumes so much of my time, you know what I mean? So like church for me is a place where I can go and just like kind of renew in my spirit, and then learn and think about passages I haven't thought of before, so like I'm kind of doing a lot more of that, you know what I mean, than I am actually like doing teaching or anything in the church. Like I have relationships with a lot of people that go to the church and stuff, but not really doing teaching in the church.
Yeah. Do you talk about this apologetic stuff with your wife, or is this the kind of thing that puts her to sleep?
No, I do. But I choose my conversations, you know what I mean? So it's like I like for her to help me kind of think through stuff, and she'll give me like her input and stuff, you know what I mean? And so like we do talk about it. It's just like sometimes I need a break from the apologetic stuff, you know what I mean? So like so I don't really like carrying over the conversation. I don't want to make our marriage about my YouTube channel or something, you know what I mean? So I try to separate them, but I'll still talk to her about stuff though, but not 24/7. I don't want to bore her to death too.
Does she watch your videos?
Yeah. She watches the majority of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well,
cool. I used to like my first 50 or something, I had her watch every single one and give me like input on like every single one for a long time. And then as soon as I was like, okay, I think I got the hang of it now, you know what I mean? So, so then she just watches them when she wants now. So,
Cool. How does your daily routine look like? And especially like, how do you keep, your mind fresh, or how do you keep yourself fresh spiritually when, constantly putting out content? You can't just always give, as you said, you go to church, you need to be refreshed and you need to be inspired. How do you do that for yourself on a day-to-day basis personally?
That's a great question. So every morning I have like devotionals that are a routine. Right now I'm just going through Proverbs. So I'm doing like a Proverbs devotionals. So I'm always doing that. I try to listen to some sort of sermon or something like that on the treadmill in the mornings. I try to do that. Yeah, I'll do that, or I'll catch up on stuff that's going on in the world, whatever topic I'm thinking about covering. I'll do that. If there's not much going on, then I'll listen to sermons, or I'll do some sort of study. I'll listen to right now I'm listening to a podcast. I've been listening to it for a while, but it's called the Bema podcast, BEMA.
Okay.
And it's like these Messianic Jews are explaining like scripture and stuff like this from the Jewish context. So they're
Yeah.
going through all of they really go through like the Old and New Testament just in different themes and stuff, but all from the Jewish context. And it's really kind of helped me understand a different perspective. Like I don't agree with everything they say, but I mean, that's true of everything. But I think it's very informative and helps me think about things differently. So I'll do that. Listen to some sermons or do that. And then and me and my wife read through the Bible too as well in the nights, so for devotional. So so that's how I kind of keep the spirituality part in check. Sometimes I do better than others. I mean, sometimes I'm really busy and I find myself getting off routine a little bit, you know what I mean, and running late in the mornings and you know what I mean, stuff like that. But most part,
yeah. Are you like far ahead with your content creation? Do you have the movie ready for, let's say, December, or are you more like, on a short time schedule?
Oh man, I wish I was, man. I'm more short term. I'm like, because a lot of the stuff I'm doing kind of goes with whatever's going on in the world at the time.
Yeah.
That's kind of a downside because I would like to plan out a lot longer future content, but I don't know, man. I get inspired by some things and then those are things I like to talk about. So,
Yeah. I once helped Inspiring Philosophy out with one of his Bible contradiction movies. I helped him with the animation. And so I asked him, hey man, how far ahead, like when is this going to come out? And he said it's in 6 months.
Yeah. You can tell he thinks ahead, man. Yeah.
What tips do you have for people who want to get themselves into, apologetics? Like how did you start off and maybe both on YouTube and on the ground, offline? Like, what are some of the things that helped you kind of grow and move forward?
Honestly, there was like kind of 2 stages, I want to say, for me. One was like I was doing a lot of debates online, which isn't the most fruitful place to have a discussion, right? But it is a good place for you to kind of learn what people are going to be saying, and kind of you got time to think through whatever kind of objections they raise. You got time to study it, you know what I mean, in depth. And so that's what I think was the benefit of that. I see it more as like it was it gave me kind of motivation to look into things that I otherwise wouldn't have had motivation to look into, and so I did that for a couple of years, at least a year. I think just like debating was all I was doing. And when I say that, I mean, I really was. I was out of work at that time because my hearing, I had the surgery. So I was out of work for over a year, and because I couldn't hear. And so I was just doing online debates like nonstop, right? When I go in on something, I go in. So I was doing that for a while. And then I continue to like read and, keep up on stuff. But also I kind of moved into having just more conversations with people I know, you know what I mean? And then more in-person stuff. I did a thing called the Doubters Club, which was here in Colorado. Preston Umar kind of started it. He was a pastor of the Doubters Church in I think until it kind of closed down. But anyways, it would be me and some atheists just having conversations at like coffee bars or coffee shops and stuff. And then people would just come and just listen to us discuss the topic, you know what I mean? So that was a good place. And then like, I guess just having good friends. My friends are really good at asking me really quick. Like, they don't let me get away with stuff. I don't let them get away with stuff. They're like, you gotta, like, why do you believe that? Like, what's the evidence you have for it? Like, the reasoning is fallacious here, those sorts of things too. And that really helps to keep you sharp as well.
Yeah. Have you ever taken any like courses or classes that helped you do this apologetics thing, or was it basically all self-taught and, debating and practice and reading and stuff?
I mean, I took philosophy of religion in college, you know what I mean? I actually took it twice because I enjoyed it so much. And then, but I mean, most of it's just kind of self-taught. Most of it is like just reading and then really just thinking about it. I mean, a lot of the apologetic stuff is really good on the intellectual front, but it's not your everyday objections you're going to be getting from like your neighbor and stuff. So like, I kind of moved into a mode where I was like, I want to understand what the objections are to Christianity from my neighbor and from my cousins and, you know what I mean, people around me more. And so that's where I started trying to, apologetic stuff wasn't as helpful. The good thinking was helpful though, like learning how to think well and philosophy and logic, you know, but it was harder because it's like, these people aren't bringing up the ontological argument, you know? So I was like, so what do I say? You know what I mean? So thinking through that stuff was more of a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Related to that, what do you think, like, what's the relationship or the relation between, again, what the objection a person may have, or what's going on in their minds, you know, well, you know, Christianity, I wrestle with that, or I struggle with this, or, you know, I don't know, God of the Old Testament or whatnot, between that and what's going on in the heart, like from your experience and your interactions, how do you navigate that? That's kind of a question I continue to kind of think through and wrestle with.
Yeah, that's good. So if I understand your question right, I'd say I ask a lot of questions because I do truly want to understand what is it that they're really saying. You know what I mean? Like, what is kind of this core thing that we're getting at? Because people will say a lot of stuff like say they bring up the problem of evil. It could just be a philosophical. I mean, it could just be like I think of it like a leaf on a tree. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but it's not really the trunk. It's not really the core reason why they're rejecting Christianity. It's just like something that's conveniently kind of goes with their core motivation. And I think everybody kind of has a mix of both. Like we have intellectual and emotional objections or problems with whatever belief, you know what I mean? So I think kind of trying to take them in together. I also think for me, personality type stuff has been really helpful in evangelism and stuff too, because if you can pick up on kind of where people's proclivities lean towards, like where they're getting value from these things, why they're saying what they're saying, it really helps to make adjustments when you kind of know that stuff. So like I find myself going through those all the time in my head when I'm talking to people. Then I can better articulate and understand where they're coming from and then see if they agree with it. And if they do, then we have common ground and then I can work with that. So
yeah, that's interesting. I guess, you know, for some people, I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, whatever question a person is asking is just, you know, an excuse for them to not deal with the real existential or emotional stuff. I think for some people, they are really into, you know, they want to have an answer to a real question. You know, why is there evil? Or again, I don't know, the God of the Old Testament, how do you reconcile that with Jesus, and so on and so forth. But on I do find, as you say, there is always, you know, there's also experience like swinging with it and past experience. We once did a debate here in Beirut. I debated an atheist, and after the whole thing, a girl came forward and she said, "Well, I'm an atheist, but I thought you did it really well. I thought what you said makes a lot of sense. I'd like to talk about this more." I said, "Yeah, sure." And then we talked. So we talked, and at the end, and she was very open. And in the end, I said, "Well, can I pray for you?" And would you be open for me to pray for you? And she said, "Well, you know, Lucas, I know that you mean well. And, you know, I really liked what he said, but I can't let you pray for me. It's just because of," and then she basically said, well, when she was 11 or 12 years old, she had like a priest or something trying to do exorcism on her, and it was just traumatic. And so, and then, so again, that was just one of those moments where I realized, okay, this person has a lot of questions, but they're like underneath the questions, there's just, you know, layer upon layer of, you know, experiences with religion or religious people or people who claim to represent God that just, you know, that need to be worked through in order for her to actually reach out and have some like touch base with the Lord. So it's, it was quite something.
That's good insight, because a lot of times, like, I guess getting trained in apologetics, you kind of don't really know what to do with that stuff. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, well, I mean, do I give her another argument? You know what I mean? A logical argument or whatever. And so in a case like that, like, I'm looking to see like where this hurt comes from and then validate it. I don't know why a lot of times I see Christians are afraid to validate somebody else's negative experience in the church. But I'm like, if they had a negative experience, whether objectively in the world it happened the way they thought so or not, they believe that. And so it's subjectively true. And so validate, like, I am sorry, I understand. You know what I mean? What it feels like to be outcast, you know what I mean, from a church or whatever. And you know what I mean? And then if you just do it in a smoother way than this, but like also too, like Jesus was outcast. You know what I mean? Like if anybody can understand what you went through, Jesus can understand what it's like to be outcasted by people he loved as well. You know what I mean? And so like, but I typically I'm trying to show people that Christianity is, it's I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, my brain's not working today. I want to just say it's realistic is what I'm trying to say. So it's like, it understands like there's pain. It's not trying to say there's going to be no struggles or pain, whether you're Christian or not, you know what I mean? And so that's why I think it's helpful to kind of show people that it's talking about the way things really are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Completely different question. If you could start all over again on YouTube, is there anything you would do differently?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like everything, everything. Like, I guess what I learned is like, things are easier if you have a clear mission statement, vision, target audience, all of those from the beginning. Because if you do, you're making the decisions are just way easier. But like you get to like me, like starting out, kind of not really knowing what I'm doing, just, having fun, like, responding to memes and stuff. Then I'm just
or whether you should rap or not.
yeah, whether I should rap or not. Then I'll move over to like doing a lot of skits and stuff. Then I move over to like some culture stuff. Then I'll do like preaching the gospel 24/7, can't stop. So it's like, I was doing apologetics, like, you know what I mean, responding to the arguments from atheists and stuff. So I was just kind of all over the map, and that made things a little bit more difficult because your people that you accumulate over the years, your subscribers, they may not be interested. Like maybe they subscribe because they hear me responding to Cosmic Skeptic and Genetically Modified Skeptic. And then now I'm talking about like Joe Rogan and, or some of these pop stars or Ariana Grande. They're like, wait, what? I didn't subscribe for that, So that's where it becomes a problem. So if I could do it all again, I would have had who my audience was and what was the value, my value kind of proposition in order before I started. But,
Yeah. Do you have any kind of plans, or where do you sometimes imagine yourself where you will be in 5 years?
I've been thinking about it a lot more lately. And I actually just enrolled in something Jordan Peterson was talking about, like self-authoring, I think it was, or something. And he's basically to kind of help you figure out what you want to do in 5 years. I paid for it or whatever, haven't started it yet, but I've been thinking a lot more like my initial plan was this. It was like, okay, I'm going to do YouTube for a while. It's going to be hard to get back in the corporate world because I was a financial analyst before there. It's probably going to be tough to get back after being gone for so many years. And so I'm like, what is my next move? Like if YouTube is just done in 5 years, who knows what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Social media. Can I adjust well to TikTok or whatever other platforms kicking in? You know what I mean? And so,
well, you got the dance move, so TikTok should be no problem for you.
That's true. Dance in the name of Jesus. But I guess my plan is like, I want to be working with people. I want to be like working at a church, you know what I mean? Doing something like that in probably the next 5 years. That's what I'm hoping to do. It's like really kind of help to train and disciple people, pastors. Like I would love that. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to be thinking about it a lot more over the next month or so. So we'll see where I end up.
Yeah, cool. Related to that. And I mean, this might be a challenging question. What are your strengths? Just if you're real honest, I think you're a humble guy, so you can just say.
My biggest strength is I'm incredibly humble. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's a good question. It's interesting because I guess in this sphere, okay, I'll put it this way. Actually, I think I can answer this. In this sphere, I think I can understand well. Somewhat well, hopefully well, where other people are coming from and where culture is at. Like, what is the way that culture thinks about this situation? Because it's easy for us to kind of get in our bubble where we're not really engaging with culture, or we write them all off, you know what I mean, as like bad or something like that. We're really trying to understand and take a charitable approach to saying, like, would they agree with this representation? And I just feel like because I didn't come from the philosophy stuff initially, like the critical thinking and stuff, and I kind of learned that stuff, helps me to understand, like I feel like I can balance them out a little bit easier because of that. I'm naturally more like culture.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I can understand what they're thinking and try to serve as a bridge between culture and Christianity. I mean, and it's up to everybody else to judge whether I'm good at that or not. But I mean, that's what I would say is probably like something that I think I would consider to be one of my strengths.
Yeah, man, I can definitely confirm that. I mean, you're modeling so well for, I mean, loads of people what it means to both, critically and graciously engage, not just with issues that are out there in culture, but with the people who are out there. I think, your videos, again, model that so well. And yeah, I mean, but what I'm saying is, I think in terms of the content, like the stuff you engage with, there's a lot for people to learn there. Again, like, how do I think about this issue or about that issue? But I think, to me, what I think is even more valuable is, again, the modeling, the role model you are for people to see, I can actually, I don't need to be aggressive. I don't need to be a jerk. I can be truthful and gracious at the same time in engaging, again, not just issues, but the people that are out there in culture wrestling with or being confused by issues that are going on. And you're doing a great job. I think you're a great support to the body. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
What do you think are some of your biggest weaknesses?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of them though. One thing, there's a couple of things that I've been thinking about lately. Again, I mean, I'm always self-reflecting, thinking about like where I'm weak, where I could be better. You know what I mean? And so I think naturally I tend to talk in a lot of concepts rather than giving kind of concrete examples. And this is where communication, where I can keep doing better and better, because I'm very conceptual. Like, I'm always thinking in my head of like these kind of deep philosophical ideas and stuff like this. But when it comes to communicating with people, not everybody speaks that language. Not everybody wants to hear you go in this weird theory, you know what I mean? My weird rambly theory. Like, instead they're just like, so how does this work? Like, give me some practical advice here, you know what I mean? And so like trying to like work on that, kind of incorporate more just practicality, because I think that's a big weakness. Another weakness is people don't believe me, but man, I'm super introverted, like super introverted. Okay. After this, I will be like done for the day. Really, like I'm that introverted. Like, so I'm really introverted, and because of that, I think I turned down too many opportunities to do stuff a lot. So that's another thing I'm trying to work on more, which is one of the reasons I'm here too. Because I'm like, man, I like Lucas. I was like, and I believe in what you're doing. So I'm like, man, I need to just like step out of my comfort zone and stop living in my head all day long. So yeah, so those are two things.
Thanks, man. And we wasted half an hour on trying to figure out the technicalities, and sorry for you had to go through that.
Oh no, it's my fault, because I'm always conceptual. I'm like, hey, I got this, and then it comes to the physical world, and I'm like, what am I doing? Anyway.
So is your wife an extrovert?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I see. Yeah. So she always pulls you out to meet people and to go for parties and stuff. And
yeah, she likes to be around people. She gets energized around people, and man, am I the opposite. Yeah. So, okay. But it's good because like we try to like have people over on the weekends, you know what I mean, more and stuff like that, and then it helps her. So therefore, like I enjoy it. I love seeing her more, enjoying time and stuff, so yeah.
Okay, I'm an introvert too. So do you find yourself going to the bathroom during parties just to wind down and be by yourself?
Oh man, that's more introverted than me, bro. At that point, that's a new level of introversion right there. No, I can do like extroverted stuff for like a period of time, but I'm constantly aware of like how much energy it's gonna take. You know what I mean? Like I have a plan in advance, like how much energy, you know what I mean? Okay, I'm going to be doing this thing. Like, so for today, like I specifically knew after this, I'm going to be tired. So no heavy lifting after this, you know what I mean? And I'm going to be going home earlier, so yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I won't keep you much longer.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Hey man, I have my whole day except for you, man. So no, you're good.
That's right. What are some of your favorite movies, or what kind of genre do you enjoy?
Oh man, That's a good question. So it depends on what I'm looking for at the time in life. That sounds so weird, but
Okay.
there's times when I'm like trying to understand people and culture better. I'm watching reality TV, like, you know what I mean?
I see.
Yeah, like or there's times like if I tend to enjoy stuff that's kind of more I don't even know the word for it.
Mm.
Just these kind of movies that are like kind of mind bending more. Like I like
Yeah.
I'm really into psychology, like understanding psychology and stuff in movies. And even when it's like mind bending, like sci-fi type stuff, like I enjoy stuff like that. But to be honest, I don't watch a ton of TV, like ton of movies and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather read or think. Like it's yeah.
I see.
So if I do it more so with a purpose or with other people, you know, my
I
wife
see.
basically.
Yeah. Not too many people.
Yeah,
I
not too
mean,
many people. Yeah, let's not get it twisted.
That's right. Do you work out or do like sports to balance the mind stuff with some physical kind of balance?
So mostly what I'll do is I'll just walk a treadmill on an incline. And it's really honestly more for my mental, you know what I mean? And so like right now I'm really into my yard, my lawn. Like I'm all about my lawn. I started it from like nothing. It was just dirt. And so like I'm just like all about it. Like so, and that's another way for me to get a break from just like thinking about, you know, complicated stuff all day. You know what I mean? So so yeah, I try to do that more. My middle son is starting T-ball he's starting that here this week. So I'll be doing a lot more stuff with him with that coming up. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I teach my other son boxing, by the way, too. So that's the other physical.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
how old are your kids?
Yeah. So my oldest just turned 8. My middle one just turned 4. And we have a 1.5-year-old too. So
cool. Yeah, it's cool when they're getting older and you can do stuff with them. You can kind of go out and play games and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw my post. My 8-year-old, he was at school, and his best friend told him that he was an atheist. Yeah. So that's interesting. So because he's 8, and so I was like, his best friend came up because I asked him. I said, "How did this come about?" He said they were looking to do something on a project, and his friend couldn't think of something. And so he told his friend, he said, "Why don't you just punt God?" And his friend goes, "Well, I don't believe in God." Yeah. And then so it's like, yeah. And so then they started talking, and he's like, "Oh, that's interesting." But we've been talking a lot more about this stuff lately. So it was like perfect timing because we already talked about like, we've been going through J. Warner Wallace's book for kids. Yeah, and it's kind of complex, you know what I mean? Jay Warner's my boy though, so no disrespect to Jay Warner, but I was thinking like I don't know what the age level is for it, but my son just turned 8, so it's maybe a little kind of ahead, and it's really conceptual in parts. But we talked about it, breaking it down and stuff like this too. So, and we've been doing this for the last few weeks, so because we're going through it really slow, so perfect timing. But anyways, interesting though. So.
Yeah, it's cool. It's amazing. I mean, so my kids are 11, 9, and 5, and it's amazing. I mean, they are very capable of thinking through these worldview issues. Very, very capable. And I think it's so important for the church to kind of not just teach people not just teach kids how to color Noah's Ark or something, but because I think sometimes we belittle them in their capacities or capability to actually critically engage with this worldview stuff because they can really do it.
No, I mean, with my son, we've been talking about like substance dualism and cosmological argument, the Kalam and stuff, and he's understanding it, which is blows my mind because he's not just parroting what I'm saying. He's asking the right questions. He's trying to figure it out. And so I'm like, I didn't give him as much credit as I should have, you know, because he's asking the right questions about the soul and God being a mind and, you know, how does this work? How does that? So anyways, really interesting.
Yeah. I love that too. My daughter, I mean, my son, who's the oldest one, I mean, he's more into like, he engages with the stuff more through stories. It's quite interesting actually. So he's not so conceptual in his thinking, but my daughter, who is 9 years old, again, she loves to think through the contingency argument. As you say,
Interesting.
they're asking the right questions, you know,
Yeah.
or when you talk about the Trinity and what it means for
Yeah.
God, for who God is, they're really getting it. It's quite
Yeah.
fascinating, actually.
And it makes you think, how well do you know this stuff? Like some stuff he's asking, I was like, this should be an easy answer. Like if I can't communicate it easy, it means I haven't thought through it well enough, you know? So it kind of forces you to kind of stay on your game too. So
yeah, and it forces you to express all of this stuff in very simple language. And you can't throw out big terms or big words because it won't make sense to the kids. You need to explain it in a way that actually just it clicks.
Yes.
So that's
the better you can do that, the better you can reach anybody. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. Man, that's cool. Thank you so much for your time. I know we jumped from one question to the next.
Oh yeah, that's fine, man. I've still got some more time too. If you need more time, I mean, I'm still fine. So I still have fuel in the tank. So if you want to ask more questions, that's fine as well too. Yeah.
Sure. Well, okay. Let me just throw in one more. Do you, like how regularly do you have, do you engage with people offline? You know, how, like, are you into apologetics or evangelism on a regular basis, you know, in some ministry in the church, or just through personal relationships? Or do you have put your focus on the online world for the time being?
No, that's a good question. So it kind of depends on what kind of stage I'm at, you know what I mean? But for the most part, like there's always people I'm talking to, you know what I mean? Because I have a lot of like family members and friends and stuff who aren't saved and stuff like that. So constantly like trying to figure out like different ways to try to get them to understand what I'm saying, seeing what the issues are, you know what I mean? Without being too obnoxious, but, so that, and, but lately I haven't been, I'd probably say the last like 6 months or so, maybe, I haven't been, engaging with non-believers on a regular basis outside of my friends and family. Because I used to do that a lot more. So I'd say the last 6 months or so has kind of slowed down. I plan to get back out and start doing some more stuff. Just started going back to some like local meetings and stuff where people are going to, I just actually started that about a month ago. So so I will be seeing more people, but for right now it's mostly online is where I've been focused on more.
Yeah. Cool. If you had like a person walk up to you on the streets and ask you just, you know, straight, like, why are you a Christian, or why do you believe Christianity is true? What is your kind of elevator pitch? Like how do you answer that question in 2 minutes?
Oh, well, it depends on the person, really. You know what I mean? So if I know nothing about them, I'm probably just going to talk about that. I just think it makes the most sense of things. It's consistent with the way the world is, and then allow them to ask questions, to challenge it or whatever. Because I'm talking, when I say make sense of the world, I mean both psychologically and also, you know, when we're talking about like the macro level where it comes to like the universe. I love cosmology. So like, that's where one of my big interest is. And so, so I think from there to how people are, why is the world this way? Why are people so mean to each other? Like, why do we have these issues with, you know what I mean? Just practical stuff. Like, why do we have a near universal agreement that you shouldn't like harm people, but we find ourselves harming people anyway? You know what I mean? There's all these kind of things. So, it'd be something like that. And then I would just kind of flesh out, and then I'd be like, what do you think? You know, just start hearing out what they think and start having the conversation going. Yeah.
Cool. What is one of the most, so this is the last question. What is one of the most encouraging things that has happened on your YouTube channel over the past couple of months, or pick any? What's been something that where you felt like, oh man, this is so, because of that, it's so worth doing what I'm doing?
Yeah, that's a good question, because there are times when you just like, or at least for me, I'll start questioning like, am I wasting my time here? Like, am I really making a difference? You know, because I'm like, well, you can have subscribers. That doesn't mean you're making a good difference. You know what I mean? Or am I making a difference for the worse sometimes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was worried about that specifically in 2020, because that's why I backed off from a lot of more political stuff, is one of the reasons why. I felt like I was contributing to one of the problems in the world, like this bitterness that people have towards the other tribes. You know what I mean? And so like, I think that this is where I was thinking, I was like, it's easy for people to be mad at other people. You know what I mean? And so this is why you'll see countless, it's not hard to find any channel that's like bashing the other side, because that's not hard to do. You can say, you know what I mean? And that's the easy thing to do. The hard thing to do is try to be able to understand them and then be persuasive. I felt like I was contributing to one of the problems in the world. Actually go through all this work you don't want to go through. So anyways, that's what I was more kind of worried about. But I guess like, it's weird. I felt like I got way more praise from people, obviously, you know what I mean? Back then, they're like, oh, this is awesome. But I don't care, because that's not what I'm doing it for. You know what I mean? So the things that are encouraging to me is when I hear people really seem to understand the gospel better, internalize the gospel better, and for them to be able to just take whatever I'm doing or whatever and kind of learn from it. So that way they can be able to realize that, kind of like you said earlier, realize you don't have to just be mean to people to get your point across. You know what I mean? There's other options there. And then really helping people develop more of a gospel-centric worldview. You know what I mean? Those are things that I find encouraging whenever people will tell me how it's kind of helped them understanding stuff like that. Those are more encouraging. I mean, I appreciate all the compliments people give, you know, but those are the things that are more encouraging, you know, so more so than anything else. Like growth is like, you know, subs are just subs, you know what I mean? They're just numbers of people. It's not doesn't mean that you're impacting their lives. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So you feel it yourself kind of, you're not tempted to, look at the numbers. You've learned to kind of put that aside, subscribers or views and that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, I think I'd be lying if I said they didn't matter at all to me. You know what I mean? At some level, because I mean, they do. It kind of it's easy to kind of gauge it as like, okay, this is working, you know what I mean? But then I pull myself back, because I think like I see channels that are working and they conclude that God's behind them because it must be because I'm growing, but really it's like their stuff's a mess, you know what I mean? So it's like, so it's just like, it can mean a little bit, but not very much. So I just kind of take it for a grain of salt, but I kind of hit a point where I'm not as focused on the numbers as I once was, but I mean, they still matter. Like I like when videos do well, you know what I mean? Sure. Anyways.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think your channel is definitely working well. Guys, if you haven't, well, again, it's hard to believe that anyone hasn't subscribed to Jon McCray or What Do You Meme yet. But if you haven't, if you're one of those, then please do. I'll put the link in the description below. You've just witnessed an interview. I don't know, how long did we go for? 45 minutes between two introverts.
Yeah.
So once this is over, we will all,
and for all the atheists who don't believe in miracles, right?
Exactly. We will, both of us, we'll have to lie down for an hour to recharge and be able to go about our days again. Thank you so much, Jon, for coming on. And this was good fun. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. No, thanks for having me. And I'm just praying for your ministry and that God will continue to use you in the way that he's been using you, man. So proud of you, man. And I hope you keep it up.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.